Hi everyone, I'm Mariko. I'm a Sydney-based artist and musician, also known as DestroyerMariko, and today I'm back to review a really cool coat for Punk Rave Australia. Now, as usual, this was sent to me as a gift, but I'll always give you my honest opinion in every review. Also, if you decide to purchase this item, don't forget to use the discount code PUNKCARDY to get 20% off and free shipping. I'll put the shop link in the description below. So let's jump over to the website and have a look at the Punk Warrior Long Coat, another brand new item in the Punk Rave Australia store. Now this is a really interesting one, I reckon. It's got so much detail, right down to the distressed fabric they've used and also the contrasting cracked leather panels. I love the way they've kind of fused a military vibe with a sort of dark vampiric aesthetic without forgetting handy features like the adjustable roping on the back. Also, as usual for Punk Rave Australia, they've really gone out of their way to add those extra touches, like this cool metal charm on the zipper, the solid looking buckle on the side, and the decorative roping on the chest. As for the outfit suggestion, this coat goes really well with some of the items I looked at in my last review if you want to check that out. And so I'm already wearing the long sleeve top and the leggings you see here, so we can see how it all comes together. And finally, if we skip to the size chart at the end, you can see this comes in every size from extra small to 4XL, so chances are one of these will fit you. As for me though, I'll be trying on the small size as usual. So here's the satchel containing the jacket for today. Now, this actually came inside a larger Australia Post bag, but we opened that last time because I was sent a whole bunch of stuff to do across 2 different reviews. So if you want to see how that went last time, please check out my previous review video. In summary though, it was all sent out really quickly and I was really happy with the customer service and communication from Punk Rave Australia. I really don't have anything to add postage or service-wise since that last video though, so I think we'll just go ahead and open it and take a look. Oh man, I love all this bubble wrap, hey. Woo! So it comes in a pretty big Punk Rave Australia bag. Oh wow, it feels so solid already, like that's really cool. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so nice. I'm so impressed. Alright, so we'll start with the fabric and I'll try really hard to show you what's going on here. So the main fabric is this really nice solid kind of material, but if you look more closely at it, instead of just being like flat and boring, it's got all these little, this is what they're talking about, distressed patterns, you can see there. That's really interesting, and I love that they always add extra details instead of just having it, you know, be solid, one kind of look and kind of boring. So that's really amazing. I love that so much. And it feels like really good, solid quality material as well, like even with all the distressed stuff. I'm so impressed with that material choice. And then as we talked about on the website, there's also this sort of cracked leather fabric, which we've seen a few times from Punk Rave Australia, and I really like it. I think it's a really cool kind of thing to add on there. As for the inside though, so we've got this really nice silky smooth lining, and I really love that Punk Rave Australia actually bothers to put in these extra details because it makes a huge difference to comfort when you're wearing it, to have all this kind of stuff. Feels really nice. Alright, so now let's take a closer look at some of the details on this jacket. So obviously starting on the front, we've got this zipper that goes all the way down along here. And here we can see that zipper decoration. The detail's really good and it's a really nice size, and I really love that little demonic face there. It's so awesome. And then next to that, we have this roped sort of section. Now, this is just purely decorative, but they've left it like it is actual rope and you can tie it down up here. And I guess you could probably change the arrangement of it if that's what you wanted to do. So I like that they occasionally give these kinds of creative options if you want to customize it to suit your own style. I think that's really awesome as well. Now on the other side, you can see just around the shoulder area here, there's actually one of those cracked leather panels and then all these little studs, so that's a nice touch. The studs kind of come on this like extra little flappy bit. And then something I've noticed in person that you couldn't really tell from the promotional images is these shoulders are actually lightly padded. So padded shoulders, that's going to be interesting to try. I don't have anything in my wardrobe like that yet, so I think that, yeah, it'd be fun to do it. I think that's also probably how it keeps some of the shape and gives you that real military kind of vibe because, you know, they're very strong looking. Now just inside the collar, we've got this Punk Rave vampire kind of logo thing, which we don't see that very often. They tend to put it on some of their bigger items like this. So it's cool to see that again. And also on the tag, we've got one of those thicker ones as well, whereas usually you get the thin ones. So yeah, it's nice to see a return of this character. Now a bit further down, we've got that cracked leather panel that leads into this little buckled section here. Now the buckle is really easy to use. You just sort of do it like that. There you go, and it's really smooth and it feels really solid. I'm really impressed with the quality of that. I love it. Now this buckled bit is something that I'm wondering about in terms of practicality because to make it look its best, I mean, you could take this bit off and have it hanging, but I don't think it looks as good when it's just hanging. So most of the time you're going to want to keep that you know, connected to the buckles. So yeah, that'll be interesting to try. A lot of the time when I'm wearing jackets, I'll often keep the front open, but I feel like maybe this one's less designed for that. I mean, I'm sure you can just open the zipper and let it hang, and maybe that changes the perception of how that's hanging, but I feel like if you want this to look its best to keep it all closed up. So that's going to be interesting to play with. It's a minor detail, of course, but when I'm going out places and getting dressed, I do pay a little bit of attention to practicality depending on where I'm going, how long I'm going for, what the weather's like and all that. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to play with. Now moving to the sleeves, as you can see, there is this cracked leather kind of panel here, which adds a really nice effect. Something that's really interesting is the cracked leather panel is not actually sewn over the other fabric. It actually completely replaces the fabric. So what that means is with the main fabric, it's sort of thicker on this side, and then on the cracked leather panel, it's a little bit thinner. It's really most noticeable at the hem though, where everything's folded over. Once you sort of get up to this section, everything starts to feel a lot closer in thickness. As for the back, we've got another roped section, but unlike the one on the front, this one is functional. It's also made in the same kind of style, so it matches the front absolutely perfectly. And yeah, here you've got plenty of space to tie up and change the sizing to fit you. Also, now that I'm looking at a bigger panel of this cracked leather sort of look material, it does have a little bit of stretch compared to the rest of the outfit, so that may also help with sizing. Compare that to the main fabric, which has almost no stretch. Oh yes, it's got pockets! You guys know I love stuff with pockets, and yeah, it's actually a decent sized one. It's probably actually big enough to fit my phone and a few other things as well. That's really good. Now some other comments to make. I really like how they've done all the paneling in this garment, and like, you know, the seams are sewn really nicely and really add to the design. It's a little bit hard to show you here while I'm so close to the camera, but once I try it on, you'll be able to get a better look. I think you can also see it on the model in those promo pictures, but yeah, I really love how it's put together. And then I think you can see some of the paneling on the back here. I particularly like this sort of curved one. I think that's really cool the way they've done that. And it's actually like an extra layer, so you can see there's a little bit of space under there, and yeah, that's really interesting. It's almost like an echo of the curve in the front where it opens out. It's kind of cool how they've taken that sort of curvy theme and used it more than once in the garment. You know, kind of like, I'm thinking with my artistic brain, you're kind of bringing in a pattern or a theme in terms of the clothing. So yeah, that's really cool. And then I also really love how it has all these pointy bits at the bottom. I think that sort of adds the sharp feeling of it, which gives it that mixed military vampire kind of look. I think that's really awesome. Oh my gosh, how cool is this? I don't know if they actually planned it, but I love how on this panel section, they've got the sort of more distressed version of the fabric, and then on the next one, it's the more clean one. I love that that's got that contrast. I don't know if that's going to be the same on every one of these, or if it's just like a quirk of how everything lined up, but if that's intentional, like, wow. Alright, so I'm heaps excited to try this on. I think it's going to be really nice, and I also think it's going to match really nicely with the clothes that they've suggested. Obviously things are a little bit different, but there are some similarities. For example, there's studs here and there's studs here. Obviously the studs are slightly different, so these are much flatter, whereas these pop out a little bit, but you know, they look similar. Also, we've got this D-ring here, and all these are actually on these tiny little D-rings, so that's something else that crosses over nicely. We've also got what I think is the same cracked leather fabric here as what we've got going on this one, so that matches really well. And then a similar thing with the pants, we've got D-rings, and then we've got this sort of scaly fabric, which is a bit different to the cracked leather, but it does have a similar kind of vibe. And then, as I said in the previous video, the mood that I got from this top and these leggings was very much that sort of dark villain kind of thing. And with this, like, you know, it does have that kind of dark military vampire kind of look, so I think it all goes into the same mood, which I think is really awesome. Anyway, enough talking. I think we should just go try it on, hey? Alright, so here's how the coat looks on me. As usual, I'm going to put my size measurements in this corner and the coat's measurements in the other corner, and so we're going to do a twirl, and then we'll do a close-up, and then we'll have a talk about it. that's the coat. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really love this. The moment I put it on, like, it feels amazing to put on, and then I look at myself in the mirror and I'm just like, holy shit, I'm a vampire now. I actually still have some fangs somewhere that I haven't fitted to my teeth. I should really go and do that now, hey? Anyway, so I guess I want to start off with letting you know some of the creative choices I've made in terms of wearing this. So with this section, I actually tightened it a little bit just because some of the rope was looking a little bit messy, but by pulling it tighter, you can really get it to get that sharper kind of look. Now with the extra bits on the end, so I did try tying them in a bow, but because of the way that this looks so strong and sharp, doing the bow right here didn't really make sense. So what I actually did is I did a sort of knot. Oh, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to show you this. Hang on. I tied it in this sort of a knot, so I sort of just like looped it around itself and then straight down. And then for the moment, I've sort of run it underneath these cracked leather panels, and then they just sort of dangle off to the side. Now, if you look at this section in the promotional images, so all that extra dangly thread, you can't really see what they've done with it. It kind of just disappears. And something I wonder is like, maybe they've actually cut it short. And that was something that I've been considering, like, you know, once I've had to play with it, once I like the way that it sits and I've done all my experimenting, if I still have all that excess thread, I am considering snipping it, just because, like, I didn't really like the look of it tied into a bow, and there's not really much else that you can do with it to make it shorter and make it not so obvious. For now though, if you see how I've managed to get it to sort of sit off to the side, that does actually look kind of cool. So I'm not completely averse to it, and I may actually keep it in the end depending on how, you know, how things go with how I decide to wear it. So that's one creative point about how I've worn this. The other aspect to look at is the tie-up section on the back. And if you notice, when I was doing the twirl, I've actually tied it like pretty much as tight as it will go. And I mean, I've probably overdone it, but when I was looking in the mirror and just going tighter and tighter and tighter, I really like the way that it shaped my body so that I get more of a curve. You will notice that I've tightened it a fair bit more than what the model has in the promotional imagery. So I guess that gives you an idea of like two different ways you can wear it. You can wear it more like the model, where it's a little bit straighter. It still has a curve though, or you can wear it more like me, where I've really overdone the curve. And that also emphasizes the hips a bit more. I mean, the way that this coat is designed, I think it's always going to have a little bit of an accentuation of your hips, but when you've really brought it in like this, it's much more noticeable. Possibly one of the downsides of over tightening though is with that split at the back of the coat, because you've pulled a lot of the fabric up top together a lot closer than normal, I think it sort of creates a bit of like, it tries to overlap a little bit, and so maybe you don't get the straight, like, you know, two sections right next to each other. You get a bit more bunching. I'm actually not sure how that really looks though, because on my own, trying to look at the back in the mirror is actually quite tricky, so I'm not going to see what it looks like until I actually get around to editing this video. It's possible that it still looks fine though, and there's been no real effect, and I think like when I'm playing with this little section, I do notice that with the thickness of the fabric, so this is really thick here, and then the cracked leather is a little bit thinner, but actually underneath they've added a little bit of extra thicker material here, which I think would help with the shape compared to if you just had the thinner material. The thinner material is more likely to do that kind of bunching thing. So yeah, you guys can see what it looks like. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I think that might be something as a design feature that might help it you know, retain more of that shape, that sharp split down the back. You will probably get more bunching along there, but yeah, I don't know. While we're on the topic of this fabric, so I kind of understand some more of the design decisions related to it now. So if you remember, up the back it does have like that middle panel that is almost completely all that cracked leather kind of fabric, and that's a little bit thinner, and that's actually what allows you to pull it so tight. Can you imagine if you had this thicker material and you tried to pull it tighter? It would bunch up in a sort of uncomfortable way just because it is so thick, whereas if you use that thinner fabric, it's really clever. Yeah, when you pull it tight, you don't actually notice, because being thin fabric, when it bunches, it's like nothing. You don't notice it. So that's really amazing and really clever. To some extent, that also applies to these cracked leather panels on the elbows that I was talking about. So I mentioned, you know, this fabric is thinner, this fabric is a bit thicker. But one of the things I noticed is because of that, because they've aimed for the elbow here, it means you have really good range of movement. I think it's really clever that they've done that, because it does have a little bit of stretch. So I mean, this sizing is really good for me. It's not too tight or anything, but if it was a little bit tighter for you, I think that gives you a little bit of extra movement there. Speaking of movement though, and getting back to a possible downside of over tightening it, is it does seem to limit the range of movement like that. it does get quite tight around here when I'm lifting my arms, and I think that's just because I've pulled it so tight that all the fabric is wanting to stay around there. And then yeah, it's not impossible, but it is a little bit uncomfortable like that. However, when you unclip all this and unzip this, suddenly it's really easy. So I think if you didn't tighten it as much as I have, being so crazy, you would still have a decent range of movement. And then of course, if you have any issues, you can always unzip it and be like that, and that is super easy. There's no tightness at all. As for wearing it open, I did play around with that a little bit actually. And what I've decided is the way this hangs is not really such an issue, because when you're looking front on, it sort of hangs to the side. I mean, like, it does look a little bit odd just sort of flapping around. But if you sort of do this where you thread it through that hole there, it does seem a little less floppy in that area and a little bit less noticeable. It's something to play with in any case, but if you remember earlier in the video, I was a little bit worried about how that might sit, you know, whether or not you'd have to keep it closed to make things look good, or whether it would look fine open. And I actually think, yeah, it's fine open or closed. It doesn't really make a huge difference to me. But so that's all about the different choices that I've made in terms of how I want to wear this. So if we now move on to slightly more objective things, I guess we'll start with the size. So this is the small size, and it actually fits me really well. And yeah, even the shoulder pads, like, they're perfectly set up for my size, which is really impressive. As I mentioned before, the sleeves are also really good. Like, it's not too tight or anything. I've got extra room to wear other layers underneath it. And then, as I mentioned, I've tightened it a lot, but there is a lot of extra room under there. And that, like, you know, speaking of layers, if I do want to wear extra, I can always loosen that back area. And, you know, even if I just want to play with the shape, I can loosen that as well. So it really gives you flexibility with the size. You know, if you do want it to be tighter and you do want to have more of that hourglass kind of thing, or if you want to be more relaxed or wear extra layers, yeah, I think it's really good. The size is fantastic. I'm also really happy with the length of this coat. I think it's absolutely perfect for my height. It really works with the mood, really works with the look, and yeah, it looks like it was made for me. As for the fabric and how it feels to wear, so at the moment I'm wearing a long sleeve top, so none of it is really contacting my skin. But one thing I can say is because like the bulk of the fabric is quite thick, it does feel kind of heavy, and then combined with the effect of the shoulder pads, it really feels quite solid. So I'm really loving that. Another thing to take note of though is the warmth factor of this fabric. So because it is heavier, it is going to keep you a little bit warmer. And then, you know, of course, anytime you're wearing all black, you're going to keep a lot more warmth in. And so in Sydney at the moment, we're heading into summer, which means I'm probably not going to get to wear this a whole lot until autumn. And I have been kind of hot here, so it is nicer to just keep this open, I've got to say. But if you're in a colder climate, or if you're heading into winter, I think this is going to be really nice. And especially because you can fit extra layers under there, you're going to be really snug and look amazing at the same time. So yeah, I can't wait. I've got so many nice things to wear in cooler weather now. I can't wait for summer to be over, and it hasn't even begun yet. Oh my god. We have had a few cooler days here and there though, so maybe I can sneak in a few days of wearing this before we really hit that hot Australian summer. Now, one thing I forgot to mention when we were unpacking it is part of the design. On the back side, it has this sort of split, so I'll just turn around. You can see how those sections split. And what I really like about that is when you go and do like a little curtsy, you've got this sort of bat wing kind of shape, which I think is really amazing and really fits the vampire theme. Another thing that's really cool about that split in the back is I think it helps with mobility. So obviously we've already got this section which leaves your legs quite free to move around. But in terms of like the back, so it really like flows with you, and it doesn't feel like you've got this big material thing sort of whacking around at the back there. Like, it just really helps you move around, which I think is really good and really works well with these kinds of leggings and so on, because these leggings do allow you to do a whole bunch of stuff movement wise. So yeah, I think that's a really good design kind of thing. You could really be active in this and not feel restricted. Another really useful thing about that split down the back of the coat is if you're going to be sitting cross-legged like I am, you can sort of put them out like wings like this, and it helps with comfort, but it also feels like a really elegant way to do things. So yeah, I really love that design. I didn't expect it to be so useful and practical in that way. So yeah, I think that just about covers everything, and I think this jacket really does look really good with the top and the leggings that I'm wearing at the moment. Also, while I'm here, I might as well mention a few extra things about the top and the leggings now that I've been wearing them for a bit longer and I've sort of settled into what they feel like, because I did have a few criticisms of them in the last review. So starting with the pants, one of the criticisms I had is the top elastic is quite tight, and I still feel like when I first put them on, you know, I'm used to just letting my stuff stomach hang loose, I've got to admit. So when I first put them on, the elastic does feel kind of tight, and at first it's a little bit uncomfortable. But I have found as I wear those leggings through the day, it actually, like, I stop noticing it and it becomes fine. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, the psychology of clothing, and I think that's an interesting thing if you ever go to a shop and try on clothes. I'm now starting to understand that your first impression of trying them on maybe isn't always accurate, and maybe I've let go a few clothes that actually would have been nice because of that first impression. So yeah, I'm now sort of rethinking the entire way that I do shopping. Punk Rave Australia has really opened up my eyes to how narrow I've been with my clothes shopping in the past, so that's actually really exciting. It really broadens my horizons, and yeah, I just have to thank them so much for that. The other thing I want to follow up on from the last video is with the sleeves here. So I sort of wondered whether or not these sort of pointy split bits would get in the way. And what I found is when I was getting dressed to do this review and, you know, putting on my shirt and then brushing my hair and doing my makeup and all that, what this split is really good for is, like, you know, so you get the long sleeve effect, but because it's a split, it's so easy to just roll it up like that. Like, you know, not all sleeves are that easy to roll. When you don't have that split, you know, you spend a lot of time like trying to get it all around. Whereas this, it's just like, it's just as easy as that, you know? That's really cool. That's some really good design stuff. I love that they really put in effort into, like, you know, how would you actually wear this in the real world? Because if you've ever seen, you know, some of those really crazy fashion shows where you're like, how would anyone in real life actually wear that? No, with Punk Rave Australia clothing, I can actually see myself wearing these things in so many situations. You know, I can really do the goth look everywhere. I don't have to tone back just because I'm going to be a little bit more active or doing something that would be harder to do in those kinds of weirder fashions that just don't have practicality in mind. But yeah, so that's just my quick follow-up from the previous review I did. If you haven't seen it already and you're interested in this top and the leggings, and we also had two other amazing items in there, please do go check out that review. There's also a separate discount code if you want to get this and the leggings. But anyway, back to today's review. So I really love this. I think it's amazing. Like, the moment I put it on, I was just blown away. Like, I get excited about the clothes that they send me, but this one, I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, like, this is probably one of my favorite things now from Punk Rave Australia. I mean, it's so hard to choose because they send me so many amazing things, but this one I really think is a winner. It's absolutely fantastic. So, you know, if you're looking at it thinking, should I, shouldn't I would say definitely get it and definitely use that discount code. And, you know, I love it so much. I can't wait to be able to wear it like every day in winter. Except that I've got so many other cool things I need to wear. Oh my God. I just like Punk Rave Australia is such an amazing brand. So definitely check out the website and you'll find things that you like if you're into this sort of dark, gothic, punk, whatever kind of style. Wow. So yeah, anyway, to summarize, so the size and the fit is really good. Definitely follow their size charts there because it's been accurate for me pretty much every time. The fabric choice is also amazing. It feels great, good quality. It's also well chosen for practicality. And then they've really paid a lot of attention to detail with all the little extras and, you know, the cute little zip thing. They really go out of their way to make good quality items that have all these little extras. And then with this item in particular, they've given you a bit of extra creative freedom in terms of those details. So like from deciding how you want this to be worn, and also the tie-up section on the back, which allows you to adjust it to basically fit your style a bit better, fit your body shape better, decide how you want things to look, whether you want to be sort of more of the hourglass or have more of a relaxed feel. So overall, I think this is an amazing coat. I really love it. I think it makes me look so badass. That military vampire kind of vibe. I really do need to fit those fangs on sometime. So yeah, this coat just gets all the thumbs up from me. Now, as I said before, if you'd like to purchase one of these for yourself, don't forget to use the discount code PUNKCARDY, which gets you 20% off and free shipping in the Punk Rave Australia store. And as I said earlier in the video, I will put a shop link in the description below. Now, once again, I'd really like to thank Punk Rave Australia for sending this item to me. It's amazing. I love it so much. Sorry, Marley just wants to be a little bit involved at the moment. But yeah, thank you so much to Punk Rave Australia for supporting me through the year. It's been really fun and I can't wait to do more next year. But yeah, guys, so I gotta say, the Punk Rave Australia team are really good. They're really nice. So definitely go check out the Punk Rave Australia store. And of course, if you ever have any queries or any issues with a product or the delivery of it, definitely get in touch with them because they're super helpful and they'll get everything fixed for you. Marley, what are you eating? Yeah, so anyway, I hope this video has been helpful, especially for those of you who are looking at sizing and how it feels and all that. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, leave a comment with any of your thoughts, share it with a friend if you know someone who might be interested. And don't forget to subscribe, so you can subscribe to my channel, which has a variety of content, or you could also subscribe to the Punk Rave Australia channel, which has just a whole bunch of reviews of all their products with all the discount codes that go with them. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you have a great Festivus or Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate. I hope you have a great break. We've got the other dog now. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you all next time, next year, whenever you tune back in. I think it must be time to stop filming and start playing, hey?